This is episode 115 of the Deep Dives, and we're starting a new conversation. We finished up our whole thing about Jude last week, and are going to be starting into a conversation about not just Esther, but Ezra, Esther, and Nehemiah, because they all kind of happen at the same time. But also, around all that, we're having our normal three old guys talking conversation. So that's episode 115 in a nutshell. Stick around.
Okay, so
Nice glasses.
thanks. You like these? A friend of mine gave them to me just a minute ago. This was a gift from Josh, and these are. Can you see
Amber
them?
picking that up.
Okay,
Big
good.
time.
These are lenses, camera lenses with ND filters on them, so you can go dark or you can go light. And obviously, they look good on me, so I'm going to be wearing them for the majority of the. I know Donna's going to look. If you let me know where you got them, I'm going to get the female version of this and give it to Donna. Amazon. Okay, so I give it to Donna. I know she loves this kind of thing. Hey, I want to start off by letting y'all know that Hope is down. Just a reminder, Hope is Donna's sister.
Oh, I thought this was like a
Sad moment.
No,
this is a good
Hope
moment.
is down.
No, I got you. No,
we
no.
found that hope is down across the United States.
Hope Gilreath, my sister-in-law, is down. Donna's sister. She comes down from North Atlanta, and in between her house and here is. Do you remember what? There's Buc-ee's is there. So whenever we go up to Buc-ee's and come back down, Donna and I and her mother, we usually bring gifts, right? Remember the first time we came?
Yeah.
What we gave you?
Oh yeah, they were delicious.
The second time, what did we give you? What gifts?
More Buc-ee's bricks and sandwiches.
Yeah.
So the first time we gave you one.
Right.
Second time we gave you two.
Right.
This is actually the third time. So
Do we have three?
So we're going back to one again.
Oh, okay, good. I'm like, I'm gonna have to freeze these.
We realized we were setting a dangerous precedent, so we wanted to go back to one and start over. But Hope got those for y'all on the way down, so you can say thank you to Hope.
We could be setting. There's a possibility for several precedents here. It could be going back down just to one.
Mm-hmm.
This could be sort of like an increasing oscillation.
Keep in mind who you're talking to. I got a psychology degree, so we're going back to one.
Okay.
We might go up to two again. We'll see. I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
I want to keep you guessing. Okay, so that's the first part of the gift giving today. This is a very familiar second gift. Now, I know you don't like these very much.
We'll stick this in the fridge, though.
Yep.
All right. Now,
Red Bull.
the last time we got 16, this is a 12 ouncer, I think. The last time we got the 16 ounces, and I got three of them, and I told you the face of the lady that I bought them from was like, okay, if you want to buy three of these. But
I drank the whole thing. Didn't affect me.
It didn't affect you at all. Caffeine does not affect you very
Well, it's
much.
not the caffeine. There's something about I can't drink coffee because it makes me nauseated. But it isn't the caffeine.
Okay, it's something else
But
in
it's
the
something
coffee.
else in the thing. So it's not that. But I
Gotcha.
didn't
Okay.
get hyped up or nothing.
I was going to point out. Thank you for using the word nauseated instead of nauseous.
Well, he's
Everyone
a proper.
says made me nauseous, and they mean it to say like it made me sick. But when you say made me nauseous, it means that you become something that makes other people nauseated.
Oh, I see.
So
well, he's a pretty smart guy.
I picked up on that.
Very nice. I was going to mention that, but
You have my respect.
he did it first. respect the Chris.
I could have turned around and said, "Well, I just get dog sick and fall on the floor and roll around."
I get sick. That's what I learned to say. But anyway, so I don't think there's any more gifts in here in my box of life. Nope. Here's another one. There's another one of these that goes to the I think that goes to the arm on one of the monitors that I gave you. I think it hides the wires and stuff like that. Anyway, not much about music today, except for in a general sense.
Okay.
Can y'all talk? Can you seriously take me seriously with these glasses on, or should I put my other ones on?
I think they look fine.
Okay, good. Because I like them. So
we never take you seriously.
That's
anyway.
true. It was an unfair question. It was a trick
Trick question there, Dutcher.
First thing, and this may be a long way to get around to it, but the first thing is I am still fascinated by ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool that I use frequently. Don and I pay for it. It's one of those things that we agree it's worth paying for every month. We can, we've gone through. She just got through doing our taxes yesterday, and she itemized things. I'm sorry, Josh.
That's a bad subject for me this year too.
I've never seen Josh react as much as he does during this time of year.
Yes.
It really gets under his skin, man, because it all comes up, all the inequities, all the stuff that shouldn't be happening. It comes up and he knows about it. He's more educated about it than most people, so it really upsets him. So I'm sorry I said tax.
It's all right. We can go on that rant if we want to.
That's a whole other episode. She was showing me all the stuff that we spend on photography, and it made me start thinking about all the subscriptions that we all have these days. I bet every household has at least 15, probably even more type of subscriptions. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, ones on your phone where you just get it for $2 a month or $15 a month or whatever a month. And so this is one of the things that we said to each other, this is worth it because we both use it. Other stuff we've gone through, I don't use this, I don't use this, I don't do this, whatever. So as it gets better, and in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it gets better day after day, right? I mean, because it's getting so much data input and spitting so much out. In theory, it's getting better almost daily. You agree with that?
I would say we have to define what we mean by better because it's getting
evolving.
Smart. Yeah, it's evolving.
It's evolving.
If that's good or bad, it's a whole different conversation.
Okay, gotcha. Fair. That's fair. That's fair.
It is becoming more useful.
It's becoming more useful, but I'll say this about it. First of all, I want to get back to the pictures that you showed us this morning and those extraordinary edits. But at the same time, Donna was asking it Sunday, has Rory McIlroy ever won the Masters? And for those of you who don't know, he's the number one golfer in the world, has been for months. I haven't followed golf recently, but he may be 1-2, but he's been number one. He won the Masters last year, biggest tournament in the world, and he won the Masters a couple of days ago, and he hasn't fallen off in between.
So when did Tiger Woods stop being the top guy?
Tiger is really struggling. He's struggling with addiction. He just got picked up for DUI again a couple weeks ago.
See, I don't follow any of this stuff.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard was Tiger Woods was top of his game in golf.
And he was at a time, and he could come back. I don't know. He tried to make a comeback not long ago. And keep in mind, we're talking about the top guys in the world, right? Tiger could go out right now and beat everybody in Pensacola hands down. He could beat most people in the world hands down.
Right.
But when you talking about the top 1% of golfers, you know, you have to stay on your game so much. And I really think he's struggling right now with some addiction, probably because of back injuries and things like that. It's just my thought, just from what I've seen. But anyway, so Donna was asking ChatGPT, when did Rory McIlroy win Masters? It says Rory has never won the Masters. Well, he's won it in 2025, and he won it in 2026. And she had a conversation with ChatGPT where it would admit, yes, you're right, but then she would say something else, and then it would spit out, no, he's never won the Masters again, da-da-da-da-da-da. So she was a little disillusioned by that. That's one thing. Okay, that's here. Very simple question. And I don't know what her prompts were. I think prompts are really important. Maybe the shorter the better. I don't know. But it seems to pick up pretty good.
It's also not just based on the prompts. It could be the settings within the app. Like if for some reason she wasn't connected to the internet at the time and it wasn't able to do an active search,
Okay.
then it's limited to the knowledge it has on hand.
Gotcha. That could be it, because she stayed. My impression was she was in one place. She didn't move around, so I don't know if that was the case or not. But anyway, so we got that on one hand. That is what it is. And then I come in here this morning, and Josh shows us pictures from a medium format camera that you have gifted to us. That is how old? How do you think that film is?
At least 50 years old.
At least 50 years old. Your grandfather passed, and you went to Colorado, and you picked up some of his firearms. You picked up cameras, and there was film exposed in one of the cameras.
Well, I didn't do the first one.
Which was what?
Pick up firearms.
Oh, okay. You didn't pick up firearms.
I don't admit to anything.
That's right. You're not that's right. That's true. You don't have any of the fire.
Right.
One of your siblings or cousins did that.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. I have one antique.
That's it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wasn't plural.
I misspoke.
Yes.
I misspoke.
An old non-working flintlock rifle.
That's right. It's a paperweight.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
But no, so we were. There was a ton of stuff in my grandparents' basement that my mom was not able to identify.
And he was an engineer, so this means a lot to you.
He had the engineer brain. He
Yes.
wasn't like he
Okay.
wasn't an engineer. He was a tinkerer, like a hobbyist machinist, that
Okay.
kind of stuff. He built stuff all the time. His workshop is something that a nerd would find really, really fun to play in.
Which you are, and
Which
you
I
did.
am, right, and I did. And my favorite thing when all growing up, going up to my grandparents' house, is hanging out with him in his workshop because he had drill presses, metal lathes, welding stuff, pneumatic and hydraulic
This is where you cut your teeth, man. This is a place that was
yeah,
very special.
It
to
was
you.
one of those things that was influential,
Absolutely.
in my development.
Yeah.
And like I remember, being there when I was a kid, and the arm on my glasses breaking, and he's like, "Well, follow me." We went down to the basement, and he figured out a way to fix everything back up and made it stronger and heavier than it ever was.
That's a natural engineer, man.
That kind of stuff. So I was up there helping my mom go through all that stuff and identify, like, what are these things that are in the basement that she never really cared about. And I also got an opportunity to call dibs on some stuff.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to be getting his lathe
Right.
at some point when I can drive up and load it up and bring it back. But we ran across a box of really old cameras, really good condition, but old cameras. And she didn't know what to do with them. And so I said, well, I got a couple friends down in Florida that are really, really into old vintage cameras. So I brought them down and gave them to you guys.
Yep.
And in one of them, there was a partially used roll of film. So we got that up and rolled it up, and then all of us forgot about it for about a year or so.
I've had it in my possession. I just haven't
And
really
then
known.
something we were talking about jogged my memory. I'm like, hey, whatever happened to that? So he brought it to me and told me, there's a place, blah blah blah, that can develop it. So I took it there last week and told them the whole backstory, and they were just like totally thrilled with it.
Were they? That's cool. I like that.
Yep. And
That's why I like going in there, talking to people about photography. They love it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the place to go and talk about stuff like that.
So anyway, so I chucked the box for a digital copy and hard copies. And I haven't picked up the hard copies yet, but the digital ones got emailed to me. And so I'm looking at them, and I'll put one or two of them up on, or have Chris put one or two of them up on screen. This film has been sitting in a camera for at least 50 years.
Right.
Could be 60, 65 years, but at least 50 years. And so no idea what was going to be on them. The film was pretty degraded. So there were only 8 pictures that could be that had anything on them.
Okay.
Because it's a partially used roll of film, and really, really hazy, difficult to make out any details. But what our human eyes can't see often, the digital brain behind ChatGPT can pick up subtle differences in pixels that our eyes can't. And so I ran it through ChatGPT and had it, kind of like in the old in the movies, like enhance, zoom in, all this kind of stuff. And it was able to do it, and not only like clear it up, but add colorization to it, and bring back some of the detail that was embedded in that film, but the subtleties were too small that I couldn't see them. And so it bring them back, and I'm like, yeah, that's my granddad unpacking this lathe.
Crazy.
that I'm going to be getting, and this is his old Detroit pickup truck that he built almost from scratch, and sitting in his back driveway overlooking the alleyway. It's like all of this stuff was in that picture.
Yep.
And it was really, really neat to see. And then there's a couple other pictures of a place where my grandmother grew up before it got converted into mining operation and everything. So it was really neat to see all that stuff. And so I sent it to my mom, my aunt, and my dad, and everything. And it is neat to see all that stuff.
I am amazed. My jaw was on the floor when I saw the detail that it brought back, Chris. It was, being an editor of photography, I know I've seen a lot of different from before and after. These are some of the best before and afters I've ever seen, and it's from AI. It doesn't. Chris and I were talking about this. Is that real? Is that cheating? Well, you look at those pictures of your grandfather unloading a lathe. In the background, you can see the house, and you know the house well enough to know that's definitely what the house looked like, and this is what his truck looked like. That's not cheating. We were talking about, it's like a shortcut to enhancing a professional enhancer.
Yeah.
That does
it's
it
a
before
process
and after.
in Photoshop that can now be automated.
Absolutely. And what was your thing? I like the line that you draw between AI doing something and it be legit and not legit. You know what I'm talking about?
I saw a thing a couple 3 weeks ago where a guy went back and it was a picture of his mom. He remembered his mom wearing this particular colored dress. He was a baby. But in the original picture, there's a toy on the floor. In the one that was AI kind of enhanced, it brought back the color and all this, but it took the toy that was on the floor out as a non. So you have to be careful as to what it does.
Yes.
But I think the overall advantage of I have some pictures of my grandmother and further back like that could be restored. And now, 25 years ago, it would have been me sitting down with a kind of paintbrush thing, I can't do.
Right.
But no.
So what I took from what you said very well is that if it adds something or takes something away, that's where you start questioning. Is it good or is it bad? Same thing with typical editing. I've always followed the rule of, if it's something permanent on a person's face, that should stay. Unless it's requested that could you take that mole out, then you could do that. But as a person that's editing a picture of somebody, my thought is you don't have the right to take anything away or add anything.
There's a difference between enhancing truth and changing truth.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
if there's damage in the photograph, so say there's damage to the photograph in the face or something, you can go back and add that in.
That's right.
That's, I think, is legitimate to go back to restore the photograph to its original. But when you go in and you have a person take an older Civil War photograph or something where somebody has a scar or something, and you go back and enhance it, you and I have also discussed, the past where you see the only still person in a picture from like the 1850s or 1860s was generally the dead person.
Yeah. So true.
They're dead.
Right.
So if there's a little bit of blur, that's probably the person that's alive. And that's kind of creepy. But photography,
They didn't have the ability to put an image on film in a very fast way.
Right.
You had to sit there and let it expose.
30, 40, sometimes 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the item.
That's shutter speed. Old cameras sometimes didn't even have a shutter speed
You took the
dial.
cap off the front.
You took the cap off front, put it on. That's your shutter speed.
That's your shutter speed. That was how fast you can move it.
Right.
So.
And anything that's moving while the cap is off is going to be blurry.
Well, think about something. I thought about this on the way over here. You talk about photography. Photography's been around right at about 200 years. You start going back to the daguerreotype, which is about another 8 or 9 years down the road is when that came into play. But think about before you had paintings, so you could paint somebody's portrait.
Right. Rich people could.
But what I was thinking about, okay, you have Grateful Dead, or you have whatever band, and they were at this. Just say you went to Illinois and they were playing in this venue. It was recorded. You have a recording of that. Until recording equipment, which the Victrola itself is not that old. I mean, it's around the same time frame as the camera.
Yeah.
As far as you had something recorded, actually, it's not records as we know.
It was the hard cylinders.
On cylinders.
Yeah.
We talked about last night, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it was but think about 300 years ago, somebody played a piece of music. That piece of music was only played one time because there's no way it could be perfectly duplicated every time.
Right.
If you listen to the Grateful Dead from 1970 that was recorded, it's the same thing.
Same exact thing.
It's just this difference between a live performance. There's a slight variation in the performance, even though it's microscopic and you may not notice it. There's some difference in that.
Yeah.
And that was something that really, I was driving over here thinking about that going, it's really since about 1830 that we actually have had the ability to capture images, sound, and preserve it in a long-term manner to where, you got John F. Kennedy's speech. That was filmed.
Yeah.
George Washington, you don't have an actual recording or a photograph of him.
It's just what someone wrote down.
Right, exactly.
And, well, even that, like, it's funny how you look back at human history and how humanity has developed ways of recording ideas, because the first one was a written language. Before there was a written form of a spoken language, the only way people were able to preserve something from the past was this person remembered it and he told it to someone else, and they remembered it and they told it to someone else. You have that oral tradition, and eventually, there's obviously a lot of inherent flaws in oral tradition because it changes over time.
It would change from in a circle of 10 people.
Yeah, that's the game of telephone.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so, how do you record ideas and communicate them over long spans of time in a reliable way? Well, we need to be able to write that down, and there's a lot of challenges to doing that because, one, what do we write that makes a symbol mean a word? Like, we have to figure that out. And then what do we write it on? Because if our goal is to preserve this until the next generation, we have to find some material that can hold on to this image that we make for a long amount of time without degrading. Or if it does degrade, we have to be able to have an infrastructure in place that makes another copy of it before the first one degrades. And that's just the written word.
Right.
Because whatever language we develop to communicate ideas, there's an entirely different way of communicating that transmits mathematical ideas and things like that. And so, as we get through human history, like, that was the first thing that really had to be solved so that we could pass information from one generation to the next and build on the knowledge of the previous generations. But then we get into, well, how do we preserve more than just words? Because like Chris was saying, is if I wanted to hear a piece of music for all of human history up until a couple hundred years ago, the only way to hear that is if someone who knew how to play the right instrument in the right way could play the piece of music I wanted to hear. So there was no, hey, I have a playlist, I want to hear this song. It was, here's a musician, play whatever you know how to play, and I gotta, I gotta like it or not like it. And so,
Wow.
how can we preserve that sound?
Yes.
So that what you play now can be heard by someone later, and then the next thing is images, and then images with sound, and so, yeah, for most of human history, we haven't had this ability. It's all just been written.
I think of so many things whenever you're saying that. What is it going to be like in 20 years? We've gone from, just in my generation, 8-track, cassette, CD, now MP3, MP4, and electronic. What's going to be next? Because we're not stopping there. I would guess, Chris. I mean, there's got to be something else going to happen. I don't really know, but
I think archival is where we've lost our way, because all of this digital stuff that we're creating, there's really no guarantee that it has any permanence.
that's exactly right. We talk about that a lot in photography.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I said my youngest son, does not own a DVD player, does not own a CD player. If they watch a movie, it's streamed. And we talked about this before. If you don't have a digital copy, an actual physical copy of something, it's like having a piece of sheet music.
It could go away.
It can go away. I mean, even the physical copy can go away. It can get damaged, fire, or whatever, degraded over time. But it's taking, how do we preserve something in its true and proper form, and not have it altered like they're doing, like we've discussed before, the James Bond, where he doesn't,
reality.
he's got the pistol. Now he doesn't have it. He's just got his hand up there. It's weird.
Yeah.
It looks weird. But we were discussing right before, the Peter Jackson. He went back and took World War I film.
Yeah.
And they went back and got professional lip readers to read what the soldiers were saying, because there was no sound in this film. And then he went back and looked up, well, that regiment was from Cornwall or this place or that place. They got people from that area due to, just like in the U.S., inflections of, the region.
Right.
And now you can hear what they were saying.
That's crazy good.
And it was just, and I'm going to order this. It's like $25 or something like that, but I'm going to order it just to see, because it's fascinating, because he's trying to preserve history in that respect.
Right.
But, as we go forward in time, that's the scary part. How is storage going to be handled?
It's such a relevant question. It's so relevant to photography. In a very small way, I deal with that every time I'm trying to edit a certain amount of pictures. If I go to a baseball game, I take 300 pictures, photographs. I have that raw data, and I turn that into a JPEG. So what do I do with the raw data? I want to save it somewhere, so it will be, the original will be saved. Every picture is this big. I've only got that much room.
Yeah.
So you've got to somehow have a system to where you're going to, if it's important to you, to keep that data somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And having one is like having none. Having two is like having one. Having three should be the minimum. Right. Chris? In a backup.
We know. We've gone through this. We go out, we take pictures. I'll take 200, 300, 400 pictures.
Easy, too. It doesn't take
that's
much.
not easy. That's just normal, because you snap. The problem is, I go home, I have so much hard drive space.
That's
And
the
I have
limitation.
I'm going, well, I don't like that one as much. I don't like that one as much. Okay, I'm going to keep this one. But there's still a valid picture that you took that was good. You just didn't like it as much. The angle or something wasn't quite.
Yeah.
But do you wipe that out?
That's the hard part.
And
as
that's
a
the hard
photographer
part
to
of
think
deciding.
about it.
Says I'm wiping out a piece
Of history.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's very
when
true.
when you take a picture, that's a moment in time.
It's beautiful.
It's like one of the jokes is there's this guy that comes on this YouTube, and it's kind of funny. He says, was the orange named the orange because it was orange, or was, I mean, that kind of thing. He does this.
That's
but
good.
this is the oldest, the newest picture of you is also the oldest picture of you, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. I've taken a picture of you. That's the oldest picture of you
But it's
because
the
of your
newest
age,
picture.
but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the newest picture of you.
Right.
Jeez.
It was weird like that. So
Well, yeah, as a photographer, you've got to get past that to a certain extent, because if you try to hoard everything, you're going to run out of space really, really quick.
That's always been an issue because there's only so many clay tablets. There's only so large of a building you can build to house the tablets you
That's
record
right.
stuff on. So
Yeah,
all throughout human
right.
history, we've been posed with sort of these two competing issues: is the ability to memorialize things and not having enough physical space to memorialize everything. So now we have to prioritize the information we want to memorialize.
Interesting.
For last night we were talking about the Library of Ashurbanipal, one of the most famous kings of the Assyrian Empire, and they found his library in Nineveh, and it was just clay tablets recording the most significant events of each year.
Okay.
And that was like the court records. There's a lot of other stuff that happened, but there's only so much space you have in a
Wow.
building, and so much human effort that can be put into recording everything.
I've never thought of it that way. It's so true.
So,
what was
yeah.
that last night? What was the cylinder?
Cyrus's cylinder.
Cyrus said, if you could send Chris a picture of that and put it up in this, it's so cool. Everybody's fascinated by that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so last night we started this conversation started the study into the book of Esther, which really, if you're going to look in the book of Esther, you have to go outside the book of Esther first, because the context and the timing of it is so important. So at a bare minimum, we're doing Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther, because they all overlap. And they even overlap with other extra biblical events that are of extreme importance, like the Greek and Persian wars happening after the chapter 1 of Esther, things like that. But so we went back almost 2 centuries, about 2 centuries before the time of Esther, and we were talking about the prophet Isaiah. And Isaiah was one of the prophets to the southern kingdom of Judah. So remember, after Solomon died, the nation split into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And the northern kingdom of Israel had a pretty rapid descent into paganism and chaos, and eventually got taken over by the Assyrian Empire. And there's a bunch of prophets in the Old Testament. A lot of times we call them the minor prophets, not because they're minor, just because their books are small.
Right.
But there's a lot of prophets who were prophets specifically to the northern kingdom. God is giving them messages, is trying to communicate with the northern kingdom, saying, stop doing what you're doing, because these are going to be the consequences, and it'll culminate in the Assyrian Empire coming in, conquering you, and all that stuff. Well, they didn't obey, and it wasn't but a couple hundred years that the Assyrian Empire came in and conquered the northern kingdom. So that left the southern kingdom of Judah, and they lasted for at least, a century and a half beyond Israel, but they were following the same trend. And so there were a lot of prophets to the southern kingdom, and Isaiah was one of them. And during the reigns, this is the southern kingdom, which was the Davidic line of kings, the kings that came from the line of David. There were a string of 4 kings that goes from Uzziah to Hezekiah, that Isaiah existed during those times. And towards the end of of the book of Isaiah, he sends a message to Cyrus, calls him out by name. Now, this is prior to the Babylonian captivity.
This is important stuff that you're saying.
Yeah,
right
this is
now.
important stuff, because Isaiah, God gives Isaiah a message and calls out King Cyrus by name, and tells him, like, you're going to be the mechanism that brings people back to rebuild a temple that hasn't even been destroyed yet. And so this was about 160, give or take, about 160 years before Cyrus even existed. And God is calling him out by name and telling him all this stuff. So, the southern kingdom of Judah, they get progressively worse, and the consequence is that the Babylonian kingdom comes in and conquers the southern kingdom of Judah, and that's where we read about Nebuchadnezzar coming in and destroying the temple in Jerusalem. He's taking people out of like young, smart, bright people out of the kingdom, out of the nation of Judah, bringing them to Babylon and putting them to work there. Daniel and his three friends were one of the, or some of those. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and so as Jerusalem is nearing its destruction and being destroyed, that's when we start seeing Ezekiel start giving his message to the southern kingdom of Judah. So Ezekiel is over in he's in captivity. He's not in Jerusalem, but he's talking to people in Jerusalem and other people about the coming destruction of Jerusalem. At the same time, Jeremiah is in Jerusalem saying the same thing to other people around him. So and Daniel, young Daniel, is being taken out of Judah and put to work in Babylon. So a lot of these things are happening at the same time. And so Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah goes through 70 years of captivity in the Babylonian kingdom. And we get to that account in the book of Daniel where Belshazzar, who was the son of Nabonidus, the last king of Babylon, he's in the palace throwing this huge party, and he gets the idea, we should go into the imperial treasury, and we should get out some of those cups and stuff that we took from that old temple we destroyed in Jerusalem, and we should drink from those at our party. And so as they're like defiling these instruments of the temple, this hand appears out of nowhere and starts writing on the wall. Nobody knows the message, and so they eventually call Daniel. Daniel comes out and tells them this message means that Babylon's over, the Babylonian kingdom's over. You're going to get conquered by the Medes and the Persians. Immediately after that, the Persians take over Babylon without a fight, and it's under the reign of King Cyrus. And so Cyrus is now the king of the Babylonian Empire. One of the first things he does is he sends out these little clay cylinders all over the kingdom, and on the cylinders are written like, they didn't have Twitter, they didn't have the news, they couldn't turn on TV and see, oh, we're a new nation now. A lot of people didn't find out what happened until months, maybe years after the event actually happened. So the only way of communicating was the Persian Empire had this infrastructure where they could send messages physically by hand all over the kingdom. And so they loaded up these a lot of these messengers with a bunch of these little clay cylinders that had the history written on it. And it was basically a message from Cyrus saying, "You're now the Persian kingdom. Your king is now Cyrus." This was something that wasn't just a military action, but it was something that was appointed by the gods. And so this is how it's going to be now. And he made a lot of changes that people probably would have liked at the time, because he let a lot of conquered people go back to their homelands and start rebuilding their hometowns. Right. Judah was one of them. I keep saying Israel. Judah was one of them. And we know from some, or we read from some extra biblical accounts like Josephus, that his attitude specifically towards Jerusalem was unique because he was shown the Isaiah scroll from, here again, like 160 years prior, that called him by name. So think about that. You're the king of Persia, and you have your servants going through the royal libraries of the kingdom that you just conquered, and they find this one scroll from 160 years ago that's addressed to you personally.
Let's just think about, I want our listeners and viewers to think about that.
That's like the stuff of movies.
Yes, it
right?
absolutely is. It's time travel kind of a thing.
It's time travel.
Yep.
And so, he's read that message and is further compelled to give the people from Jerusalem some priority status. And so he starts sending people back. And so this is when we get into the era of Ezra and Nehemiah, because there's a whole list of kings in Persia. Because Persia, even at this point, Persia was an ancient empire because it had been around for hundreds of years. But there is a particular dynasty called the Achaemenid dynasty that Cyrus was a part of. And these Achaemenid kings, a lot of them are listed in Scripture. When Ezra starts, he starts from the time of Cyrus, and he lists several kings as we go through Ezra. So Ezra chapter 1 to 7 cover a certain period of time, and then after chapter 7, I think it's 7, might be 6, but I'm pretty sure it's 7. But after chapter 7, a different king is listed, and so eventually one of the kings that's listed after chapter 7 is Ahasuerus, or Xerxes is his Greek name. Well, that's Esther's husband. So you have Ezra 1 through 7, then you have the book of Esther, and then you have Ezra, the next several chapters of Ezra.
Okay.
At the same time, so remember, Daniel was not just the Babylonian kingdom. He survived and was instrumental in the Persian kingdom. So he was there under the reign of Cyrus, all the way to Darius, because Darius is the one that threw him in the lion's den. Okay. So a lot of these are overlapping each other. They're from different perspectives. Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Ezra, Esther, Nehemiah, all of them are happening around the same time. They're all just in different locations, giving different perspectives of the same world events. And so Ezra, who was a priest and a scribe, he's one of the first groups that are sent back under Cyrus to start rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem and the temple of Jerusalem. And then in the middle of that, Esther happens. The Greco-Persian Wars happen. We have those events, and then Ezra picks up after those, and then we get Nehemiah happening, overlapping part of Ezra, because Nehemiah, I believe, was one of the second or third groups that was sent back. Because here again, one of the cool things, we often hear about, both in Esther and the account of Daniel being thrown in the lion's den, that the king of Persia makes a ruling that can't be undone. Like it's a rule can't be undone. Right. The main reason for that was, if Cyrus's claim was true that he was king because it was determined by the gods, then that means any decision that he makes as king has to be permanent, because that was part of this grand plan of the gods.
Gotcha. Right.
Darius builds on that, because there was a lot of controversy around Darius becoming the Persian king, the king of Persia, and so he relied heavily on that too. He's like, well, I'm king now, and therefore this was ordained by the gods, and we can't change this. Even if you think this was wrong or whatever, I'm here because the gods put me here, and you can't reverse that. And that comes into play in Esther, because the king made that rule under the influence of Haman that all the Jews should be killed. And he couldn't just undo that rule, because, well, this is a decision that the gods made, and we can't go back on it. But we can make a new rule. We can allow the Jews to defend themselves. This is like Old Testament Second Amendment.
There you go.
So we have that sort of thing coming into play as well. And so we get to Darius again, and by this time Cyrus is long in the past. Darius is going through the imperial records and finds out, oh, Cyrus, he told the Jews that they could go back and build their thing. That's a decision that can't be reversed. So I'm going to double down on that, and I'm going to give them a lot of money to help them with that effort, and I'm going to send more people back and all that stuff. And so that's where we get into Nehemiah and all that kind of stuff too. So all that stuff works together historically. It's really cool to see how all of that works together, because oftentimes we take a book out of the Bible and read it as if it's its own thing.
Right.
And we don't realize that all of this stuff, God's giving us the same events from several different perspectives. I think for a couple reasons. One, to give us multiple accounts of the same thing that can be verified historically, so we know that the Bible is true. But also, it gives us an indication, like Esther. One of the things that people always point out is God's name is never mentioned in Esther.
Right.
Well, that might be true, but his presence is soaked into every single word of Esther.
Right. Good
like
point.
He was solving the problem of Haman way back in the time of David and Saul. Because it was the decisions that Saul and David made that resulted in Haman, Mordecai, and Esther. So that's one of the comforting things about Scripture too, is like any problem that I'm facing right now is not a surprise to God.
It's not a surprise.
Because he starts solving problems generations in the past before, he called Cyrus 160 years before Cyrus was.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and this was a pagan king that would have never encountered God otherwise.
So this is just to humanize it, personalize it. This is like one of us going to the library right now, picking up a history book and reading our names in it. You in 2026, you're going to be living in Pensacola doing a podcast at this date. That's what it's like, right? It's generally projecting what's happening, and you're reading in retrospect of what God anticipated.
Or think about like it's 2026 right now. So 1826, 17, so like 17, let's say 1776. Okay. Well, no, what's 2026? So yeah, 1850s maybe. What's 2026 minus 160? I should be able to do this in my head. Yeah, 1866. Civil War is 1865, wasn't it?
It ended in 1865.
Yeah. Okay, so think about someone at the end of the Civil War writing a letter to President Donald Trump.
There you go.
Saying, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, you need to do this, and gives him some details about his presidency, and then that being like buried in some random cabinet in the Smithsonian or the Congressional Library or whatever, and then Trump one day is having one of his clerks go through all the old records, and they find this letter from 1866 and brings it out, and it's addressed specifically to Trump.
Wow.
And
that's nuts.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, that's like Back to the Future stuff.
Yes, it is.
When
very much so.
When Marty is sitting there, and Doc just disappeared in the DeLorean,
right?
And he's standing there in the rain, and the guy from the mail carrier or whatever, what was it? Western Union.
Okay.
Said, hey, we had a bet at the office that someone would be here or not, but we have this envelope with specific instructions to meet someone at this spot at this time, and it's been in our archives for like, I forget how long he said, like 150 years or something.
Right.
But he's like, "Are you Marty?" "Yeah, I'm Marty." And it was a letter from Doc Brown, because he had just disappeared there, went back in time to the Old West, wrote a letter, put it in the hands of Western Union to deliver to Marty.
Wow.
So here's Marty getting a 150-year-old letter from someone addressing him by name. That's
what it's like.
yeah. That's like
Man.
this is the stuff of science fiction. This is time travel.
crazy.
This is the prophet Isaiah calling out Cyrus by name before Cyrus even existed.
Wow.
It's so cool.
Very interesting. Josh, it's true, or is it? I think you just described it, but much of the Bible, or several places in the Bible, gives the same account in several different ways, right? From
Yes.
3 to 4 different people, even in the
The Gospels
in
is
the
really
Gospels,
good examples
right?
of that.
The
Yeah.
Gospels is just the same account we're looking at, and God must do that, like you said, to give you different examples or different views of it. If all 3 of us walk out today, we see an accident happen right out here, outside of the studio. The police officer would probably want to interview all of us to get all of our perspectives.
Right.
It doesn't mean what we remember contradicts the other one, but it might show the complete story, depending
Right.
on what is important in our brain or whatever, to see what we saw stuck here and what Chris saw stuck there, and it can tell the whole story.
Yeah. Well, it compare it to cameras. If you have one camera with one lens, you take a picture, you get a 2-dimensional image.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 cameras that are split apart, taken from different angles, then you start to get some 3-dimensional imagery.
There you go. Right.
And the more cameras, I mean, that's how our eyes are able to like interpret the world around us as 3D, because we
They
have
make
that.
a lens for that. You go, one camera has a split lens.
Yeah.
It has a slight offset for the
Yeah.
stereoscopics.
Yeah, because you have 2 different perspectives put together to get more information.
Right,
And even Scripture alludes to that too, because it talks about the value of multiple witnesses in the legal system. Like, you can't just go on the word of one witness.
Right.
You have to have at least 2 to determine truth, like 2
Gotcha.
independent witnesses.
Right.
And in engineering and mathematics, it's the same. If you solve the same problem 2 different ways and get the same answer, it's probably true.
Valid, more valid. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Excellent. Very good. I'm excited about going into the study more and more. Just the summation you just gave me, it was very exciting. And I think that our viewers and listeners should take that formula that you use and apply it to the Bible study. Don't just look at one book, but go whenever it refers to something else. Go to that book, go to that chapter or whatever, and study it. Also, it's such a more inclusive way of learning about it. Historians, I love y'all's brain, the way you use history to study the Bible. And like you said many times, Josh, you can be a non-believer, but you can't say that this isn't true. We found this stuff here. We found this library. What's his name's library?
Ashurbanipal's
library. This is what it says on the what Natasha calls a corn cob. The little scroll. What is it called?
The cylinder.
The cylinder.
Yeah.
And by the way, the cylinders they're pretty small, aren't they?
Right.
They're about they look.
They look massive.
They look
the
big.
pictures are zoomed in.
They look footballish, but they're pretty small. What did they? So writing on those cylinders, Josh, were there symbols or were there a certain language?
It was the Akkadian language.
The Arcadian language. Okay.
Not Arcadian, Akkadian.
Akkadian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Akkadian Empire predates the Assyrian Empire.
Okay.
The Akkadian Empire was like that. The Akkadian Empire was contemporary with Abraham.
Okay.
Right. This is very, very, very early in biblical history, where only a couple centuries separated from Babel, and so the Akkadian language became the trade language of the whole Middle Eastern area, Turkey, Africa, things like that, in these ancient times, because as these people were separating and had their own languages, they needed a common language to use for trade. And so they used this old Akkadian language when they had to talk to multiple people groups. And so a lot of times when we pull up a clay tablet or a clay cylinder or whatever, it's the language on it is Akkadian or some version of that. And so one of the ways that they would, it's usually made up of symbols made with a pointy stick.
A pointy stick.
Yeah, because
okay.
they had a lump of clay, and before the clay dries, they jab it with these pointy sticks and make symbols of like triangles and slashes and everything. And the way those symbols are configured, those mean something.
Okay.
Those symbols mean something. Cuneiform is an example of that. And so, since the Persian Empire now acquired the Babylonian Empire, the common language that they all spoke was what Cyrus communicated to everybody in. Because there's a couple things that had to be solved. One is, letting everybody know that they're in a new kingdom now, or a new empire now. But things we don't often think about, like, all right, how are we going to unify the monetary system? Because everyone had their different things. Well, Persian Empire was one of the empire that first started using coins on a global scale. Like precious metal coins and stuff.
Right.
That was because he conquered the Lydian Empire in Turkey before he conquered the Babylonian Empire. And the Lydian Empire is where coinage was invented in the town of Sardis.
And you have a coin.
Which we read about in Revelation. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, and I brought a coin from the time of Esther to our class.
That's pretty neat. That's a good level of education there.
Yep, that's a time machine in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Just being able to hold something that was minted during the reign of Xerxes the First, during the life of Esther, in the town of Sardis. So, like, there's so much history.
How did it make it over
that
here?
Coin?
How did it make it over here? You know what I mean? You just ask yourself, I'm holding this. Who knows who has held this?
This could have been in Esther's hands. Could have been Mordecai, Haman. Yeah. Could have been in Ezra or Nehemiah's hands.
Wow. Now, there's one thing that you said last night that stuck with me. Whenever you find one of those cylinders, what's the first thing that an archaeologist does? What do they do with it to preserve it?
Yeah, usually when they find a clay tablet or something like that, the first thing they do is they put it in a kiln and fire it so that it fuses everything into its form.
So it won't fall apart. It just makes it harder, just like any clay pot does. Okay, gotcha. Excellent. Josh, thank you. Anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Tons of stuff, but we ran out of time.
I know, man. That's a lot. That's a good study, and we're looking forward to doing that. Gosh, somebody's local and they want to learn more about that. It's every Wednesday night, 6:30 at Marcus Point Baptist Church, room 102. Yep. How about that?
By the way, if you want to get some cool information about Esther, just Google Achaemenid Dynasty. And start reading about the kings from Cyrus the First when he conquered Babylon, all the way to Darius the Third, who was defeated by Alexander the Great.
Sounds good.
There's a huge swath of Old Testament history between those 2 points.
Okay, bring us up to modern day, current day. Somebody mentioned Chris's name last night in Gun Club. I said, Where's the guy that used to sit here that has all the guns? Josh says, that's Chris. Where is he? Is he okay? Where is he? Yeah, he just doesn't like you anymore, so he doesn't come.
He doesn't like crowds.
I'm antisocial and Uncle Grumpy.
I think Josh says something like, he doesn't really care for people that much. So
I said he doesn't like crowds.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Doesn't like crowds. And when he is here, he's in the shadows.
Right.
You may not see him.
Always rule from the shadows.
He's like a ninja.
Always, whoever's the leader, always rule from the shadows. Be behind them, telling them what to say. Remember that.
Is that Sensei? Sun Tzu?
Sun Tzu, me, and everybody else,
Okay,
and also
gotcha.
Machiavelli. I'm also Machiavelli.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the person who's the face of the organization usually isn't the one that's making the critical decisions.
That's true. Very true. Chris, anything else you want to talk about? All right.
I'm good.
Thanks for your input, man. Appreciate you, and thanks to everybody. Oh, Hope brought us those sandwiches, so we want to say
Thank you,
thank you, Hope.
Hope.
very good.
Chris
Thank
has
you.
already tore into his.
Yeah, he sure has.
Hey, I
Can't
didn't
wait.
get to do breakfast this morning, so I
okay.
said, okay, Monster. And if I take it home, I got to share it with J. Dale.
Oh, forget
No.
about that. None of that. Thank you, Hope, for that. We appreciate that. And love you, Donna. And we'll see you soon. See y'all next week for 116. Bye.